My name is Anne Eliana Witt. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
My name is Brendan O'Neill. I was born in Orielville, Michigan, outside of Detroit on August 19th, 1982.
And I was born in Bujumbura, Burundi, in Africa. Isn't that exciting? I don't know, I had never really had a boyfriend when I got to college. Never had a boyfriend. I had dated a little bit, but I think I spent my entire freshman year of college in my dorm room with my girlfriends eating ice cream, so we didn't get out a lot. We didn't meet a lot of guys.
Most of what I did was working at the campus radio station, Impact 89 FM, where Ann and I met.
But I was working AOP during the summer, and we would give the tours of Michigan State, and that's when I started to realize that the Impact was right there, when we'd give the tour of Holden Hall, and I put in an application while I was working AOP.
I tried to do as well as I could in school, but the world of dating, I don't think was ever a very high priority for me.
I didn't know how to date, we'll put it that way. I didn't know what to do. I definitely got better at dating later. I dated a lot right before Brendan and I started dating. Do we have to talk about that? No. So I'd probably been there maybe 3 weeks. And Brendan had at that point, I think, already been there for more than a year. He was a Impact fixture already, if you will. It's funny that I ended up with Brendan because the first time I went to Sit or Spin, which was a Sunday night music program, and he doesn't remember this, of course.
Although I don't remember it specifically, but she'll say, and I'll give you $1,000 if I'm wrong here. I think it was on Sit or Spin, though, the radio program that was on the Impact on the radio station at Michigan State.
And they would play songs, and we would say if we wanted to sit them or spin them.
I know that Molly Garris
was
the engineer for that program.
engineer.
I think talked to Ann afterwards, and Ann said, "Oh, that guy," being me, is kind of cute. I'd like to talk to that guy." And Molly said, "Oh, you totally should. You should talk to Brendan."
I had known her from AOP, and she told me that she was trying to hook Brendan up with someone, but she thought maybe he was gay, and she wasn't sure. So she wanted me to check him out, and she thought that we would be really good together.
But see, that conversation was never relayed to me from Molly, from what I can remember.
This guy with this bad Hugh Grant haircut that was modeled after Bridget Jones's Diary, I believe. That's what I remember.
Would he describe his own hair as Hugh Grant?
He would. He modeled it after Hugh Grant. I later found out. But it was parted in the middle. It was horrible.
And it's one of those things where I've heard the story so many times that I feel like I've kind of like painted myself into that
He'll
story.
remember now because I think that I harassed him about it.
But I don't really remember that story.
So I met him that night, and I didn't talk to him again, I think, for like 4 months. But, I mean, I would see Brendan then over time.
I remember seeing her around the radio station a lot.
No longer had to do the underground shift, so I moved up to, I don't remember what my shift was then. It was sometime in the afternoon, I think.
If memory serves me correctly, she did a 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. shift on like a Wednesday, I think.
But I remembered that I had met him. He would drop in on me sometimes just to say hi.
Just kind of by default, we would just, kind of be together. Like I'd be walking into the studio, or she would come ask me a question, or, we would just be naturally, together.
I had a friend named Josh Moon.
Her friend,
who
a guy by the
also
name of
worked at
Josh
the Impact.
Moon, was also working at the Impact.
And he said that Brendan had a crush on me, and he would always tease Brendan by saying he was going to come hang out with me because we hung out sometimes.
Anne and him hung out as friends, and she brought it up to him a few times that, okay, she's thinking, okay, well, this Brendan guy, he's all right. So it was kind of by nudging along from him that I started to make an effort to stay in the studio a little bit longer than I had to, or, get there at 9:45 so I could see her get there at 10 and stay until 1, until she left, and then I would, probably, go get a soda and leave at 1:05 or something like that.
dating starts when you kiss and goes until you decide that you're saying your boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, I think that dating is, if you're going out with somebody and you go to pick that person up and then you walk that person home, that's a date whether you like it or not, and maybe it's two friends that don't really want to say that they're dating, but fuck it, that's dating.
Well, so I knew he liked me. So then at a certain point when, he's dropping by every time I have a shift, I started to get a little impatient that he hadn't asked me out. And I knew he was dating someone as well. They broke up and I was dating someone, and I used to say, like, well, Brendan, when are you gonna, steal me away from my boyfriend? And he would just kind of giggle and not say anything.
I think that there probably should be some sort of conversation instead of just a drunken makeout session or, just random hooking up before that person becomes your boyfriend or girlfriend.
I kept pursuing him and I kept asking him when he was going to ask me out. And finally, I was going to be a bridesmaid in a wedding, and I asked him to be my date. Oh yeah, I think he said yes immediately. And I think I asked him out in the radio station, but I don't remember.
But it was strange because since she was a disc jockey at the radio station and I was the program director at the radio station, we had a hard, it's not that we couldn't date, but we didn't really want to tell anybody that we were dating. So we were kind of stuck in this weird, period where it's, okay, are we dating? Do we tell people we're dating? And if we are dating, if we are telling people, we better be serious about it, or else it's just going to look silly if we, stop doing this 3 or 4 weeks later.
So the wedding wasn't for something like 3 months, but we started dating right then.
So I think that the way that I see it, Anne became my girlfriend fairly quickly, I think. And I think that that's probably a good thing.
After that, it was like we were together. We've been together ever since.
I think that even after like 1 month of dating, we knew that it was something special.
Don't know why I'm still afraid. If you weren't real, I would make you up. Now, I wish that I could follow through. I know that your love is true and deep as the sea. But right now, everything you want is wrong, and right now, all your dreams are waking up, and right now, I wish I could follow you to the shores of freedom, where no one lives. I remember when we first met and everything was still a bet in love's game. You would call, I'd call you back, and then I'd leave a message on your answering machine. But right now, everything is turning blue, and right now, the sun is trying to kill the moon, and right now, I wish I could follow you to the shores of freedom, where no one lives. Freedom, run away tonight. Freedom, run away tonight. We're made out of blood and rust, looking for someone to trust without a fight. I think that you came too soon. You're the honey and the moon that lights up my night. But right now, everything you want is wrong, and right now, all your dreams are waking up, and right now, I wish I could follow you to the shores of freedom, freedom. No one lives freedom. Run away tonight. Freedom. Run away tonight. Freedom.
The night of the 23rd of March of 2003 would have been her birthday.
So my birthday is March 23rd, and I invited Brendan to come out and meet some of my friends for a drink.
She invited me to a birthday party that she was having at some like local dive bar, which I thought was, you know, awesome and cool. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, she's not having a party at like, you know, the fucking Riv. Like already she's a little bit cooler than the other people, you know, that are around campus.
He wasn't 21. He got kicked out of the bar.
So I try to go to that party, but I can't because I'm 20. You know, I even tell the bartender completely honestly, like, hey, I'm not going to drink. You know, you can give me a glass of water, you can watch me all night. You know, but you know, laws being what they are, I had to leave, and you know that was a little heartbreaking. I thought that was kind of going to be like our first time hanging out, so I ended up just you know, driving back to my apartment and just kind of sitting there. It was like I think probably a Wednesday night or Tuesday night or something.
But I think we had a lot of misconnections like that before we started dating. Like, maybe you'll be here, maybe I'll show up there, and then it never really worked out.
Yeah, that was a little unfortunate.
And then the first night we kissed was also almost a misconnection. It was another one of those things. It was March 29th, I think.
Yeah, 6 nights later, it would have been the 29th of March.
He's much better with dates than I am, but Brennan knows for sure what the date was. It was right after my birthday.
And that's when Ann and I, it's when we first, you know, kind of shared each other's company. She just, you know, kissed me basically.
So this was maybe a week later, and I was supposed to meet up with him that night.
I think, you know, we had probably exchanged phone numbers at the radio station. It was like one of those, hey, well, if I'm at a party, I'll call you sometime.
I was with my best friend Brenda, and he was with Clay, his best friend.
But I was hanging out with my friend Clay, and we were, you know, going around to different parties and just generally being goofy.
And we kept saying we were going to meet at different places, and then we would miss each other. So finally, Brenda and I went to Taco Bell, and we got a bunch of food. We went home and put on our pajamas and ate all this Taco Bell. And then Brendan called and said that he and Clay were going to come over.
And so we went out to some of these parties, and you know, he had to get up early to go to work at like 6 o'clock or so. But we went out, and then Ann, I think, text messaged me or called me or whatever you did at the time. And she said, hey, we're just hanging out at our house, which was just a few streets down from where I lived. Do you want to come hang out? And I said, well, yeah. And, you know, Clay, being the trooper that he is, said, well, I probably should get to sleep, but sure, I'll go with you.
So we smelled like Taco Bell, and we had to open all the windows of the apartment, put our clothes back on, and pretend like we had been up the whole time. And Clay and Brendan came over.
So, you know, you walk in her door, and if you go straight, they had the kitchen. To the left is the living room. And their kitchen was filthy at the time, but we walked into their living room, and they had like a couch and some chairs, you know, like weird, kind of bad, but like kitschy college furniture.
I just remember sitting on the couch, and Brendan just kept staring at me. He was staring at me for like 10 minutes. I forgot about this.
I do remember hearing stories, and I do remember actively turning my head to the right a lot
he was staring at me in kind of a creepy way, and Brenda was like, he's staring at you, and I was like, oh my god. And
then like half an hour into the conversation, she says, oh, I want to show you your room, which, you know, I'm fairly naive when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, yeah, let's check out your room.
Clay and Brenda decided to take a walk and give us some privacy. and they went, there was a party in the apartment next door. They went somewhere.
And so we just kind of started to have a conversation in her room, which was, fairly small. There was a bed and a table and kind of a computer table and some clothes strewn about and everything. I wouldn't really call it a clean room at all.
I was showing Brendan some stuff in my room, and then I kissed him. And that's that.
Did you kiss her first?
No, she kissed me first. I have no problem in saying that.
I think that we were pried apart when Brenda and Clay came back. That sounds about right.
I remember a feeling of relief, I think was probably the best way to say it. I was glad that it had finally happened, and then I could kiss her back, and that kind of opened up the door to I think that kind of opened up the door to spending more time together and kind of having that hurdle passed. I think that is a big hurdle, though. Anytime that two people start kind of hanging out more, and there's that kind of romantic spark, or to put it another way, tension, it's a fantastic relief.
I think that he and Clay at a certain point decided it was time to leave, and then, I'm pretty sure he called the next day. There was never any lull. We just started dating, and then we were just together after that. That was just the beginning of us just being together. Nobody else. always thought that you had to work so hard to fall in love. Like people say you have to work to have your marriage work or something like that. And before, with relationships, I had been like, well, maybe if I had just tried a little harder, then we could have stayed together. But with Brendan, it was just effortless. Like, I didn't have to try. It was okay anyway, and everything was fine.
I think when that other person starts doing things for you, it's, when they start kind of giving you things that aren't material possessions, mix CDs, I guess, or kind of sharing their favorite books or stories with you. Oh, dude, you got to sit down and you got to watch this movie. You haven't seen this movie? That's insane. We need to sit down and watch this movie. When you start to kind of give little pieces of yourself away, that's when I see it moving from just two people who are dating to a boyfriend girlfriend situation.
For us, at a night when we went to a party, and this girl that I had known came up to us and introduced us to her boyfriend. Her name was Kim. And I said to Brendan, or maybe he said to me, I don't remember, are we boyfriend, girlfriend? And then one of us, affirmed it. So then we started telling everyone at the party that we were boyfriend, girlfriend. So it's kind of childish, actually, now when I'm looking back. But I remember that was the night. So we had agreed to say we were boyfriend and girlfriend after that. And I don't know, after that, you're really just boyfriend and girlfriend, even if you're living together, until you become engaged. And then for us, that was 4.5 years later.
I remember that early on in our relationship, like maybe 3-4 weeks into it, I flew to Chicago from Lansing, which is a nice short, 30-minute flight, whatever. But I flew out there to interview for an internship at WGN Radio. So on the plane ride back, I called Ann, and I was like some sort of 1950s account executive, and I said, I got the job, into a phone, and it was weird because that kind of put a hard stop on our relationship, right? We knew that in February of 2004, no matter what, I was going to move out there. So
I get ready to graduate. We finally go to the wedding.
I remember she was at my apartment, and it was something I was thinking about. And then I walked her out to her car, and I just kind of blurted out, I want you to move to Chicago with me. And she said yes. And that was awesome.
I don't even know if we even talked about it. I think we just assumed that I would move to Chicago and live with him. But
it was a weird kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a weird moment, but it was definitely a defining moment, because all of a sudden that took our relationship to, hey, we're just dating in East Lansing, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, we love each other, but now we are going to embark on a new part of our lives with each other. And that was very significant.
So I was doing my student teaching, which was really tough. And I remember looking forward to when he would move to Chicago, just so that I could spend all my time doing my student teaching, because it was really hard.
But when I first moved out here, I was working at WGN Radio. John, who I was living with, we became close just kind of by default. He was looking for a job at that point. He hadn't gotten a job offer yet when we moved out there. So he would spend a lot of time at home during the day, and then I would come home, and we would just pretty much just go out and find some cheap burger or meal special, because we were two dudes and didn't really cook all that much. And have a few beers, and then we'd go to bed, and we'd get up the next morning and do it all over again.
So he moved to Chicago in January, so we were long distance for January, February, March, April, May, June, almost 6 months.
I tried to go back to visit Ann I think we tried to do every other weekend. So I would drive back there once a month. Yeah. And then she would drive into Chicago once a month. I think that's right.
And then he did finally leave, and I missed him so much. I would just call him and cry and cry and cry. And
But yeah, I mean, even though, it sounds really silly to say, but even those 14 days apart were difficult, absolutely. I thought about her a lot. And I think that was probably a good thing. I think that was probably the moment or the moments that I realized, like, geez, I have a hard time living without this person. I like having this person, and I need this person.
That's when I realized, like, I cannot live without him. It was so hard to be away from him. I remember on my birthday, so we had been together almost exactly a year.
I like to fly. I like to travel. I like to just get on airplanes, and I don't like being on airplanes, but I like traveling. I like the idea of defying gravity and getting into an aluminum tube and then landing on rubber wheels, and then you're thousands of miles away.
It was parent-teacher conferences at Okemos High School.
So it would have been March of 2004, and it was Anne's birthday.
And I had to stay there on my birthday till 9:00 p.m., and then we got to go home.
And I flew from Chicago to Lansing, and Anne didn't know about it, and I surprised her. And I didn't really have enough cash for a rental car, so I had my friend Beth pick me up, and she took me from the airport to Okemos, and we got there with about like 5 minutes to spare, and we just kind of stayed in the parking lot like a stakeout. There's Beth and me, and we're just kind of waiting for Anne to walk out.
And I walked out of the building with my mentor teacher, and Brendan was there waiting.
I remember like Beth, if I remember correctly, was like in mid-conversation or mid-sentence, and I just saw Anne, and so I just unbucked my seatbelt and just got out of the car real quick and slammed the door, and I ran over to see her.
He just stayed from 9 p.m. until maybe 5 a.m., and then he flew back to Chicago to go to work that day.
And I probably got in like at 7:30 at night, and then I had to take the next flight back at 6 o'clock in the morning, and took the subway and into Chicago, and I was at work by 10 o'clock.
That was so romantic.
It was awesome. I think that I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I think that was pretty neat, and I had a great time doing it too.
Oh yeah, I'm up on the 11th floor and I'm watching the cruisers below. It's down on the street and it's trying hard to force the flow. Oh, my heart's in the basement, my weekends at an all-time low. Cause she's hoping to score, so I can't see her letting him go. Walk out of her heart, walk out of her mind. Oh, not her, she's so swishy in her satin and tan. In her frock coat and bibbidi-bobbidi hat. Oh God, I could do better than that. Oh yeah. She's an old-time ambassador, sweet-talking, night-walking games. Oh, and she's known in the darkest clubs for pushing ahead of the dames. If she says she can't do it, then she can't do it. She don't make false claims. But she's a queen, and such a queen, such a laughter is sucked in her brains. Now she's leading him on, and she'll lay him right down. Yes, she's leading him on, and she'll lay him right down. And it could have been me, yes, it could have been me. Why didn't I say, why didn't I say? Now, she's so swishy in her satin and tan. In her frock coat, a bibbidi-bobbidi hat. Oh, but I could do better than that.
So it was always kind of in the back of her head that, like, okay, come mid-June, early July, I am going to move to Chicago.
I just remember packing up, and every weekend I would take a load to Chicago.
You know, I don't know if it was as much of a she just packed it up and moved it out, you know.
Lord knows how long. Probably 2 months. Every single weekend I would drive to Chicago and bring a whole carload full of stuff.
So, yeah, you know, I think that it was kind of a long segue to her actually moving in.
Until finally I moved.
And I actually remember Anne lived with us for a week. So it was the three of us in this one apartment, which was not good at all. The bathroom was like the size of, you know, a closet.
I remember moving in and cleaning everything because they hadn't like mopped or anything when they moved in.
But when John, we helped him move out into this apartment about a half mile away from where we lived at the time. And it was weird because we got back to the house and we looked at each other and we said, well, geez, like, how we lived together, like, with nobody else.
I don't think they even owned a mop or a broom.
And that was really bizarre. Like, that took a good, I'll say, a couple of weeks to really set in. Like, I live with my girlfriend. I live with Anne.
I don't know. It just seemed very natural. There was no, other than the fact that we didn't have a bed, that was a bit of an issue. So Brennan and I were still sharing a twin bed for probably 2 months until we bought a queen. And that was a little crowded. Growing up with parents that are divorced, I think that you don't have the same value for marriage that other people do, and you don't see marriage being a positive thing. It's just like this negative thing where it's going to get broken up anyway, so why bother?
I think that we really liked the idea of just being together without a commitment.
We both like wanted the insurance, I think, that like even if we wanted to get married all of a sudden, go out and elope or something like that, then we would, you know, give ourselves some more time to make sure we were making the right decision.
I think it was more or less of like we don't want to rush into things.
But we definitely didn't want to rush into anything because of our family histories leaning towards divorce.
I think a lot of it is both coming from a home with divorced families.
Because I think for Brennan and I that getting divorced would be like the absolute worst thing in the entire world. Neither of us would ever, I never want to get divorced, and I would rather not marry someone that I would think that there's even a possibility of divorcing.
And I think that we probably both thought that, okay, if we're still together within 4 years and 11 months, we probably should get married.
We made a pact that we both signed when we had been dating maybe 2 months.
It's around here somewhere.
That said that we would not get married until at least we had been dating for 5 years.
I don't know. I think it was 5. Is that right, though?
Yeah.
It's 5 years. Okay.
And the fact that we had these family histories of divorce made us talk about like the reality of marriage and the reality of divorce and how it's affected us that our parents are divorced. And from that conversation,
in Penn,
after maybe some peach
probably
schnapps,
under the influence of some alcohol,
we decided on lined paper. It's on lined paper.
Yeah, you know, lined loosely, probably college rules.
To make a little pact, and it says something
we
like,
wrote that
I, Ann Witt, and I, Brendan O'Neill, promise
we would be married in X amount of years. Is that what the pact is?
to not get married.
No. Oh, that's right. Yes. No. Yeah. No. We had both kind of signed off. Yeah, we had both kind of signed off on the idea of marriage.
5 years from April 5th, 2002.
And it said we will not be married. We will not get married within 5 years, right? And then we both signed it at the bottom.
And then we both signed it.
Here's the thing, we started out friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah. Since you've been gone, you're dedicated, you took the time. Wasn't long till I called you mine. Yeah. Since you've been gone, and all you'd ever hear me say is how I picture me with you. been gone, how come I never hear you say, I just wanna be with you? Guess you never felt that way. But since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. I'm so moving on, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. Since you've been gone, you had your chance, you blew it. Out of sight, out of mind. Shut your mouth, I just can't take it. Again and again and again and again. Since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. So moving on, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. I can't breathe for the first time. So moving on, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get. You should know that I get what I want. Since you've been gone, since you've been gone, since you've been gone.
And you mentioned the fact that it ramped up really quickly, but yet it took so long to do the proposal.
Yeah, you gotta talk to him about that.
I think that part of it is me. Well, obviously, a lot of it is me. It's not that I don't think I have a fear of commitment.
I think at that point we really didn't think we would get married.
I think that there was some fear of rejection for me, although that was completely unfounded. You know, we had been dating at that point for 5 years. You know.
So around the 4-year mark, I'm like, waiting for my proposal because I'm like, well, it'll take me a year to plan a wedding. And then I thought it'd be very cute if we, got married on the exact day.
It definitely wasn't one day I woke up and I said, okay, this is, now I'm going to go buy the ring, and really started looking at how to do it.
I did want to be proposed to, but I also didn't want to get married before he was ready, and I knew he wasn't ready.
I think it was more of a progression,
I'm still working at the same school. Brennan's still working at Career Builder. We decided to buy a condo.
The house that we're sitting in right now, we owned this house before we were even engaged. So we bought, the house that we're in right now back in August of 2007. We got engaged in March of 2008, and
at that point, I made this concession to myself that I would rather have a condo than a wedding. So I would much rather spend that money on a down payment than I would on a wedding, and that to me was okay.
Yeah, I think that after we kind of started living together in a home that we owned, that's when we kind of started to talk about it a little bit more.
At that point, it was almost like, why not get married? We own a piece of property together. We've been together so long. There doesn't really seem like any reason that we shouldn't get married anymore.
I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. And maybe that's something very selfish to say, but I've often, I don't like those stories where the girl says, well, we just have to, we're going to get married. And then the guy said, okay, we're going to get married. And one day he just brought home a ring, and I thought it was about time. No, I wanted something that was special for the both of us. But I told a lot of white lies when I went to go look at the ring and figuring out how to do it. And I talked to a couple of people, but I didn't talk to a lot of people.
So then it was probably October of, 2006?
I don't know. I really can't think of any specific hints or dropping hints.
And I was asleep on the couch, and Brennan was typing on the computer. And then I wake up and he's looking at engagement rings online.
One thing that I will say about myself is that I'm very good at holding secrets.
But then I just pretend to fall back asleep. And I don't know if I ever told him that I saw that. Then for some reason, I really thought he was going to propose around Christmas. So there was one little present that was like this little box, and I was so excited. And he said something like, "That's a present for the both of us." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's an engagement ring. Oh my God." And then I opened it and it was like, tickets to go to a cooking class or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, thanks." So I really thought I was going to get proposed to, even though looking back, getting proposed to on Christmas is a bit tacky, and he would never have done that.
So I didn't really know how to do it, and my friend John was kind of also looking, I believe at the time, of getting married. And the jeweler that I went to ended up being the same jeweler that he went to, and that guy was crazy, but he had a great deal. But here in Chicago, we have this place called Jewelers Row, and you go down there, and it's like a 12 or 13-story building, and it has all these just old jewelers, like from that have been there for years and years, and it's awesome to walk into. And usually they're these 1 or 2 employee places. And a little thing you might not know about is all these jewelers like get these diamonds or stones or whatever it is, and then they send them down based on whatever metal you buy for the ring. They send them down into this basement, and the rings are actually made in the basement of Jewelers Row. And you'll walk in there, and these aren't in use today, but you'll see like these like tubes like you see at the bank, like when you're in the drive-through. And so you put your tube in there, and then it goes into the teller. It's the same type of thing where like they used to shoot these rings like many stories up after they were completed down in the basement. It's fascinating to look at. But I went to Jewelers Row because I like kind of the idea of getting something that is custom made, something that I picked out, but also something that you can get a good deal on.
Get a load of me, get a load of you, walking down the street and I hardly know you. It's just like we were meant to be, holding hands with you when we're out at night. Got a girlfriend, you say it isn't right, and I've got someone waiting too. Well, this is just the beginning, we're already wet and we're gonna go swimming. Why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Why can't I speak whenever I talk about you? It's inevitable, it's a fact that we're gonna get down to it. So tell me, why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Isn't this the best part of breaking up? Finding someone else you can't get enough of. Someone who wants to be with you too. It's an itch we know we are gonna scratch. Gonna take a while for this egg to hatch. But wouldn't it be beautiful? Here we go, we're at the beginning. We haven't fucked yet, but my head's spinning. Why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Why can't I speak whenever I talk about you? It's inevitable, it's a fact that we're gonna get down to it. So tell me, why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? High enough for you to make me wonder where it's going. High enough for you to pull me under. Something's growing out of this that we can't control. Baby, I'm dying. Why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Why can't I speak whenever I talk about you. Why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Why can't I speak whenever I talk about you? It's inevitable, it's a fact that we're gonna get down to it. So tell me, why can't I breathe whenever I think about you? Whenever I think about you. Whenever I think about you. Whenever I think about you. Whenever I think about you.
So we planned a trip to go to Ireland and to Rome for my spring break.
And I do recall thinking that I was going to do it over there, but I don't remember like booking that trip and also thinking, okay, I'm going to propose on this
For
trip.
some reason, I really didn't think he was going to do it there.
We had flown over from Chicago to London, and then we had to hop on a plane from London to Dublin, and we were going over there for St. Patrick's Day.
No, this is why, because I didn't think that he was like clever enough to get a ring overseas or something like that.
And I didn't want, knowing that there was some sort of plane change and changing airlines, I did not want to check the ring. And that ended up being a very good thing.
I really didn't think he was going to do it. And if he was going to do it, he was going to do it in Rome, because Rome is so romantic and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't think he would be able to get a ring like into his bag without me looking.
So we, I had the ring on me, and I didn't really know, like, does a ring set off like metal detectors? Like, I don't wear jewelry, or I've never really traveled with people who have worn a lot of jewelry. But I did put it in my kind of
I
messenger
thought
bag.
he was, I don't know, a complete idiot for some reason.
But we got to London. Our plane was a little bit
We
late.
had this like run through Heathrow Airport where literally I felt like we were on the Amazing Race trying to catch this flight.
We ended up missing our connection.
We didn't catch it.
From London to Dublin. Luckily, there was no one like within 45 minutes or so. But our bags got to Dublin early. So then I would have been really freaking out that there's this ring that I bought for Anne that's just like sitting on a conveyor belt somewhere around Dublin. So that was freaking me out.
So I found out later that at a certain point they were searching his bag right in front of me and the ring box was there. And I almost saw it, but I hadn't seen it.
In the UK, they do, the X-ray check like they do here in the States. But then at any carry-on, they will just take, like, if you're going to like a baseball game, like at Wrigley Field, they do this there too. They just take like a big, like almost like a broom handle that's about 2 feet long, and they'll just kind of like wave it around in everybody's carry-on. And if they see something that they want to inspect, they can just lift, in front of everyone. They can just lift in and take it out. And they called me over to do that. And that's when I thought, okay, well, now it's definitely going to happen. So they waved it around, and the woman actually did reach in. And Anne was not, she was probably like 20 feet away from me, but she did reach in, and she held it. And I think at that point she probably saw what it was, and she said, "What is this?" And I said, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. And she let me go through without opening it up, which I was internally grateful for.
And then there was the proposal. So you want me to go through that, don't you?
I didn't want to have it be at the bottom of a champagne glass or, making some big production of it on the airplane or anything like that. I wanted it to be very natural. I didn't want it to be the type of thing where I kept thinking about it all day. I just wanted it to kind of be part of conversation, like naturally happen. And it did. And that's awesome.
I remember he was acting a little weird, and we were really jet lagged. We were just landed in Dublin.
But we went to we got in a taxi and we went to our hotel and we checked in, and we were both kind of exhausted, but we just kind of decided to keep on pressing on in the spirit of the Irish on a Saturday
We're
afternoon.
so jet lagged, we're so tired, but we decided to stay up and just start like drinking and walking around, and
but we started walking from our hotel, kind of into the city a little bit more.
it's pouring rain, of course. And we decided to go to a couple pubs and then get some lunch.
We walked through St. Stephen's Green, which is like this kind of public park, kind of city center area, which is cool. But I remember stopping with her and like looking at her, and I thought I was going to do it then, but it was like rainy out, and I didn't want to like reach into the bag and get it, and it just didn't feel all that natural because it was raining. We would have wanted to go inside. So
there's this specific deli that Brendan wants to go to that's in the tour guide.
We were walking around trying to find this deli that I had read about in a travel
and we
guide.
walk so long. I swear we walked for like 40 minutes trying to find this deli.
And it was really far away, and it was not in, you know, the most convenient area of town.
And then we get there and it's not even really a restaurant. It's more like a deli counter, so there's nowhere to eat. So rather than getting the food and going back to the hotel, we decided to find a pub, have a few more pints, and then get the food as a takeaway.
And Anne said, you know, let's just grab a couple more beers
Takeaway. That's British for you.
before we go and you know, go take a nap back at the hotel and get food.
So we started walking. We walked like one block and there were no pubs, and then we walked one more block and we saw a pub called Cassidy's.
So, you know, we went to this pub and we sat down.
There weren't a lot of people
It
there.
was dead, you know. There was like no one in the bar. In fact, I know it was like 2:15 local time, because at 3 o'clock there was a rugby match starting,
We have a seat at a table for 4 people, and it was just the 2 of us.
and it was the Ireland versus England match. So this was a heated rivalry. You know, keep in mind it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. You got a lot of people from England over in Ireland, and of course the Ireland fans are there too.
Pub starts getting more and more crowded with people that are coming to watch a rugby match.
So within like 45 minutes, like this bar just like filled up, and we were at this like tall table that you could seat 4 at.
There are these two older guys that ask if they can sit with us.
They're like 55, 60 years old or so.
And we say, sure.
They liked that, and they found out that my name was Brendan, and they thought that was really cool.
So they started chatting with us.
The Irish have this like brogue and this loud way of talking and everything. Who is this girl?
And they were asking us about ourselves and our relationship.
And I said, oh, you know, it's my girlfriend. And they said, well, how long have you been dating? And I said, oh, you know, about five years or so.
One of the guys, John, asks Brendan why he hasn't proposed to me yet.
And maybe Anne went into this part of the story.
And he says, you know, she's so beautiful, I would propose to her right now if I could. Look at her. And he like kisses me on the cheek.
Oh,
and like,
you're not married yet. Oh, what are you, crazy? Oh, look at this. She's a beautiful girl, you know, and just started like going into like this, like, not angry, but it was definitely a lecture. I was being yelled at by these two
you
men.
must be an idiot if you've been with her for this long, and blah, blah, blah.
You know, just berating me. And, you know, they said, you need to marry her. And I said, oh, you sure this is the, yes, you need to marry her. You have
And
to.
Brendan's getting like visibly annoyed.
And I said, really? And they said, yes. And I said, all right, well, you know, let's just do something about this right now.
And then he's like, well, I'll show you.
So I had my messenger bag with me, and I had to kind of hop off my bar stool, and I reached unzipped my bag, and I reached into my bag, and I pulled it out, and I was speechless at the time.
And then basically he was berated into proposing.
Because, as I mentioned earlier, I surprised myself.
And then he doesn't even say anything. He just, you know, pulls out the ring and opens the thing.
And Anne just kind of stared at it for the first 5 seconds.
And I'm just staring at him like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
And then she eventually said, well, you have to say something.
I don't think he ever said, will you marry me? I just grabbed the ring and started shoving it on my finger. And then I said, you have to say it. And then he said, will you marry me?
And so I said, you know, kind of choked up. I said, well, will you marry me? She said, yes. And that was awesome.
Meanwhile, the two men are like totally freaked out that they, you know, forced us to get engaged right in front of them. And I think some people in the pub thought it was like a setup. Like this whole thing had been set up by someone, which obviously we didn't know them. So after that, we didn't pay for another drink for a couple hours. Everybody in the pub was very excited. We all had a big celebration.
And although the story of our proposal is eclectic and a little different, I think, in my opinion, it speaks volumes about
Who
us.
gets engaged in a bar? It's just silly. I mean, it's fitting for us, I guess, because we like the drink and we like to hang out in places like that, and in Dublin too. That was fun. I don't know, I was so shocked. And I couldn't stop smiling. I was just so happy. I'd been waiting for it for so long, but it's more than the engagement or the ring or anything like that. It was the fact that then at that point I knew that he was ready to marry me, and that was like this level of commitment that I'd been waiting for so long. And at that point I didn't even care if we ever got married. It was that I knew that he wanted to marry me. That was so important to me.
And who ended up winning that rugby match?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I have no clue. I would love to know that, actually. I'm going to go find out.
On my way up north, up on the Ventura, I pulled back the hood, and I was talking to you, and I knew then it would be a lifelong thing, but I didn't know that we could break a silver lining, and I'm so sad, like a good book, I can't put this deep in. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. Things you said that day up on the 101, the girl had come undone. I tried to downplay it with a bet about us. You said that you'd take it as long as I could. I could not erase it, and I'm so sad, like a good book, I can't put this deep in. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. Let's sort of fairy tale with you. And I ride alongside, and I rode alongside you then, and I rode alongside till you lost me there in the open road, and I rode alongside till my honey's parade till something for me to break your bread, for me to take your wood. I had to steal it. Well, north, I took my day. All in all was a pretty nice day. Up with the hood right back where you could taste heaven perfectly. Feel out the summer breeze. Didn't know when we'd be back in. I didn't think we'd end up like this. And I'm too sad, like a good book, I can't put this deep in. A sort of fairy tale with you. 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 I could pick back up whenever I feel. A sort of fairy tale with you. A sort of fairy tale with you. A sort of fairy tale with you. I could pick back up whenever I feel.
Well, we wanted to have a fall wedding.
And we both kind of agreed that October of 2008 would have been way too quick.
If we'd gotten married that fall, it would have just been maybe 6 months later, and that just wasn't enough time. So
So we pushed it off to October of 2009.
we had a very long engagement.
We joked about just going off to Vegas or Atlantic City and eloping, or just getting a marriage certificate.
I didn't really know anything about weddings. When I got married, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to do.
I think that we've always wanted something that we can look back on it and really treasure. You know, we wanted our friends and family there and everything. I don't think we really had an idea of like where we wanted to do it though. So we got back to the States and started looking around, really with like no direction though. It took a while to figure out where and how and who and, you know, really what was going to go into
But
it.
I became, you know, very quickly obsessed with weddings. And it's hard to get out of that, especially when you have such a long engagement.
Knowing that it took me about 5 years to propose, I think it's very typical of our relationship.
It becomes exhausting.
You're rolling your eyes.
I'm so tired of it. I'm just ready to be married. I'm really ready to be married.
We're taking a trip to Newport, Rhode Island, which is a place that we went to about 3 years ago. We went there together, and it's this beautiful town on a peninsula in Rhode Island, and I guess some of the Kennedys used to vacation there. I don't know about that though. But it's an old town. It's awesome. A lot of bed and breakfasts, awesome, you know, food and everything. So we're gonna go there, and we're gonna go to Boston for a couple days.
I won't have to do any more wedding projects. And
We are both extremely looking forward to that plane door closing, and us taking off and just kind of leaving a lot of this behind.
be us without worrying about anything else.
It's been a great experience, but it's been very stressful at the same time.
I mean, the whole wedding thing, it's so fun and it's so exciting, but it's also really tiring, and we're both tired of it.
So personally, I'm looking forward to taking a little bit of time off and just spending time with her without this day hanging over our heads and worrying about it.
I don't know. I think he's going to say that he can sleep in on Saturdays instead of doing wedding things. I think that just knowing that we're married, to me, is going to make a difference in my life. I'm going to feel, I don't know, so excited to look at him and think, like, that's my husband. I'm really looking forward to that. And that's all I really care about. I mean,
I think that we want to kind of start working on our marriage together.
I'm really excited to just say, this is my husband.
I hope she I believe she feels the same
And
way.
I'm just ready to be married. I'm ready to be Mrs. O'Neill.
It's been 18 months for one day, and that takes a lot out of anything.
Yeah, I actually have a countdown in my classroom on the board that says Miss Witt, 22 days to Mrs. O'Neill. love his smile and I love his sense of humor, and I love that we have our jokes that we think are frickin' hilarious to each other and nobody else will ever understand.
This is gonna sound terrible. Not terrible. It's gonna sound
Saying
weird.
people are not okay.
We have this thing called Kitty Patrol.
Whenever we go anywhere and anyone's a little wonky or weird.
But if we're walking around on a summer night and we see a cat in a windowsill, we will say, "Kitty Patrol, I win."
We always say, not okay.
Winning means that you have to buy that other person a beer.
Not okay. If anybody's driving a little weird, we say, not okay.
I do like the idea of having some sort of game based on how many cats that you can see.
Just anything that's not normal is not okay. I know it's not funny to you, but to us, it's really funny.
What are you going to be doing for the 10 years?
Well, I'll be 27, or I'll be 37 by then.
I'm still working at Schooltopia, where I just started.
I think that we will be around the Midwest.
For the first time in my life, I think it's a place I could actually retire from, which is amazing.
You know, our short-term plan is to live around Chicago for a while, but both of us love Wisconsin.
And we might be talking about moving to Wisconsin because that's where we want to retire.
I love Chicago, but it's also, you know, it can kind of grate on you after a while.
Quiet, lots of cheese, lots of beer. We can have dogs that can go outside, a bigger house. I think we'll just be ready to move away from the city.
Starting to find more of a suburban life. I don't know if that's the right word for it.
We're not ready to move anytime soon, but
Although I do love the city too.
as we get older, I think we'll be ready to go.
From a job standpoint, I don't know.
I think he'll still be working at Career Builder.
I think that one of the arcs of this conversation was that I have a hard time planning for things. So I don't know if I can answer that question very well.
Two of us riding nowhere, spending someone's hard-earned pay. You and me Sunday driving, not arriving on our way back home. Run away home, run away home. We're going home. Two of us sending postcards, writing letters on my wall. You and me burning matches, lifting latches